So there's been quite a bit of interest in Sirfetch'd in Ultra Premier Cup, so I decided like why not? Let's just try it. Let's take a look at it now and see exactly just how Sirfetch'd does. Now, Sirfetch'd, quick review, Sirfetch'd is a fighting type, pure fighting type. Like, ironically, because it has like, you know, it's from like Farfetch'd, you know, Farfetch'd is like flying. It's surprised that it's not like a fighting flying type, which would have been all like kind of a little more useful. But you know, we make do what we got. It's got a giant schlong, as you see here, big leak sword, and a shield. So it does fit the fighter typing archetype very well as far as appearance goes. I don't know what's going on with this smirk, so I don't know if it's like it's about to stab. You see, this thing is gigantic. I don't know how you can hold it, but like it looks like it's just about to stab you with this thing, and it's like really menacing. Anyways, the reason why it's really interesting for Ultra League is because it maxes out at near 2500. It maxes out at 2095, so then it's like near there. So it's near 2500. And what's interesting is it has a really high attack. It's essentially like not really like a glass cannon, but it's like close to there. As you see, it has decent defense and stamina, so it's kind of a glass cannon, but not quite, because like I said, because it maxes so close to 2500, we'll see like we'll see more when I see the matrix just how thick its booty is minus its giant leak sword. In other words, it's very dangerous because it has a high attack and kind of like subpar defense. It's a wonder of whether or not it could get to its moves. Well, not really subpar defense, but like I said, we're just gonna have to take a look at it just to see against what it matches up against, because I think that's what's important. But the really good thing about Sirfetch'd is that it's a pure fighting type, and it also has counter. So that being said, with counter, it's able to generate energy really quickly, and it does a ton of damage with counter. So it's basically like Machamp and Galade had a baby, and that's for Ultra Premier. But the thing about it is that the thing about pure fighting types is that there's a lot of things that run around in Ultra Premier that it's weak against. For example, you got Galades with the Psychic. You also have Togekiss running around with a Fairy type. Also, if Togekiss has Air Slash, then that does really well against you. And those really random Skarmories that are flying around, those Hundo Skarmories, its weaknesses are out there. However, so its resistances. So Night Slash is plenty in this meta, so those things like Scizor or like Escavalier that will try to Night Slash you to death, yeah, that don't work. Same thing with Bug. Mega Horn doesn't do much against you, and those X-Scissors from those Crustals do close to nothing to you. Well, not really close to nothing, but they're resisted. Same thing with Rock. So fighting resists Rock because I'm guessing you smash through Rock, which kind of makes sense, but that means Smackdown Tyranitar and Crustals it resists Rock. So there's a lot of things in Rock in this meta, like Rock Slide, etc., or like I said, Smackdown. So you do resist those as well. So it's able to take on a lot of the meta, and like it's kind of like a 50-50. There are things that run around that try to kill it, and there are things that run around that does resist. Now, the difficult, challenging thing about Sirfetch'd is that it's not easy to obtain. It's kind of expensive. As you see here, it's like level 30, 29, it costs 50k dust. So it's not quite that like budget. As far as candy goes, it's kind of hard to find Farfetch'd candy too, unless you did that event like a couple of months ago where it was spawning everywhere. So if you did that event, you probably have a good one for Ultra League. And along with that, you probably already have all the dust, etc., thanks to like all the events and like how long it's been out to like power one out. Now, what makes it really interesting is it's really deep and versatile move pool for Ultra League and Ultra Premier. Now, for this one, I'm going to analyze Ultra Premier first, and then I'll do Ultra League. But as far as like we'll do it one at a time because each league has specific like Mons, of course, like having Cresselia and Giratina out there really matters. So we're gonna look at Premier, and then I'll do another video where I will look at primarily Ultra League. Because if I try to fit all of this information into one video, it'd make your brain hurts, and it would just be a lot more organized to do them two separate ones. But anyways, great moveset. Counters one of the best moves in the game. Fury Cut is another a good option. It doesn't get stabbed, but it charges energy quickly. You got Brave Bird, you got Leap Blade, you got CC / Close Combat, and you got those Night Slashes. And we will look and see what happens when a Sirfetch'd procs and gets that +2 attack. If a boosted Sirfetch'd just runs through the meta, we're going to find out today. As you see here, Sirfetch'd is really good for Ultra Premier Cup. As far as the rankings go, in PV Poke, it ranks at number 6. Best used in the lead and the closer, as you see here. You don't want to use it as a switch just because if Gallade is a pretty popular save switch. As you see here, Confusion users have a really strong, like, they kill Sirfetch'd, okay? If you lock in a Gallade versus a Sirfetch'd or a Togekiss versus Sirfetch'd, it's going to die. So as long as you keep it away from certain matchups, it's very, very good. As you see here, best used in the lead and the closer. In the lead, it ranks at number 4. It's basically at not number 4, number 3, but it's basically what you would have if Machamp and Gallade had a baby. So if they had a kid, it'd be Sirfetch'd. It'd be a bird with a big giant sword and a giant shield. Well, not really giant shield. The sword is a ridiculous length, but you know what? The sword's pretty the shield's pretty, you know, it's doable. So Sirfetch'd ranks at number 3. Like I said, it's able to beat Charizard, which is really interesting. It doesn't have Rock Slide, so it doesn't have rock coverage, but it can beat Charizard, which is pretty nuts. At number 3. And Machamp, obviously, it has Rock Slide, so it's able to cover some things. But Sirfetch'd is basically generally able to beat everything Machamp can, but it has a stronger matchup against Mud Boys because of Leaf Blade. However, Swampert, the thing about Gyarados is Swampert is actually, Swampert for Sirfetch'd has a strong matchup against Swampert, but against Gyarados, Machamp has a stronger matchup just because of Rock Slide. Rock Slide gives you that extra coverage against some weaknesses. Now, the closer, Sirfetch'd ranks at number 8. So it's still in the top 10, very powerful, like I mentioned. Close Combat does a lot of damage. Able to, like I said, absolutely dominates Swampert, beats Lapras, Excavalier, Ampharos, and Polion. Lead and closer, Sirfetch'd is really good. Now, you don't want to use it as a switch. You want to know why? Because Sirfetch'd ranks at number 44 in the switch. If they switch into you, if they switch a Lapras into you, if they switch an Excavalier into you, they switch Big Daddy Lax, yes, you can summon Sirfetch'd. However, there's a lot of popular switches that beat Sirfetch'd, mainly Gallade. Gallade is a popular save switch. So is Venusaur. So if you get locked into your negative matchups, well, with anything, you die. But especially against Sirfetch'd, you see Togekiss's rating and Gallade's rating, it's going to die a lot. Dies really quickly, and you won't. You just keep it away from Gallade and Togekiss. Especially, that's why you don't want to use it in Switch. Alright, so here's the matrix. The one thing y'all like to look at because you want to know why. This tells you what you beat and what you don't beat. So, we have Sirfetch'd with like every moveset known to freaking human life. I put Leaf Blade, I put Night Slash, because everyone's like Leaf Blade versus Night Slash. What's good and what's not good. So I put it right here. Along with that, I put the Brave Bird variation. I even put Leaf Blade and Night Slash. And here's the 2 shield. Hit the battle button, and you get, as you see here, Sirfetch'd is best in the lead. It's able to take on Charizard. So you beat Abomasnow, you beat Ampharos. You're able to beat Charizard, but you need to bait. So for Charizard, you need to bait with Leaf Blade, and then you have to close combat. So it's basically like Gallade's matchup. You have to land a close combat in the end to beat it. Now, but you're still able to beat it, which is really good. If you're able to expertly bait out Charizard shields, you can punch it to death. Now, like what I mentioned, you want to keep it away from Charmers, Confusion users, Dragon Breath users, and Ghosts. As you see here, Sirfetch'd doesn't have a great matchup in the lead versus those matchups. If you see any of those, like I said, Ghosts, Dragon Breath users, Charmers, or Confusion users, you want to switch in the lead. If you see Toxic and Venusaur, you also want to switch from that because since they do resist your counters because of the poison typing, you do lose those matchups. So just keep away from everything I mentioned. Other than that, you beat most of everything else in the meta. You'll beat Empoleon. You beat Lapras, of course. You beat Machamp. And another interesting thing is with Shadow Champ, you actually beat Shadow Champ. But be careful. you can go straight counter to beat Shadow Champ, but you lose both your shields. So be very careful in the Shadow Champ matchup. And the regular Machamp matchup, you can beat it just going straight Leaf Blade. But with Shadow Champ, you're going to lose your shields. So keep that in mind. The good thing is you're able to beat a lot of things just going straight Leaf Blade. That's what makes Sirfetch'd really good in the 2s. You beat that going, you beat Machamp straight Leaf Blade. You can even beat Magnezone just going straight Leaf Blade. You don't have to land close combat. The counter damage does so much. As you see here, straight Leaf Blade, bam. If they wild charge you, literally you shield both and they never make it to a second wild charge. They get absolutely destroyed. You're down a shield, but it doesn't really matter. You have energy on your Sirfetch'd, and Sirfetch'd is ready to wreck. As you see here, Sirfetch'd is able to take on a majority of meta. Just keep away from what I mentioned. Keep away from Togekiss, keep away from, which is the main Charmer, keep away from Charmers, keep away from Confuse users, Dragon Breath users, and whatever resists fighting, like Ghost and Poison type users in the lead. Now the one shield is a little more forgiving. It's actually really interesting. In the one shield, there are a lot of things that flip. So in the one shield, you beat Bama. Well, you're going to beat Bama in all scenarios. You actually flip the Blaziken matchup this time. So Spicy KFC Chicken actually dies. You have to land the close combat like with Charizard, but you're able to outpace that Blaze Kick. So as long as you're able to bait with Leaf Blade, you'll beat Blaziken. Now you'll beat Shadow Dragonite, but that's bait dependent as well. You do need to bait. Some of your matchups with Sirfetch'd, you do need to bait with Leaf Blade, and then you need to punch it to death. So keep that in mind. But you'll still lose against, in the ones, you'll still lose against Clefable, you'll still lose in Dripling. Like I said, keep it away from those Ghosts, those Dragon Breath, those Confusion users, and Charmers. You do flip the Kingdra matchup in the ones though, so you can beat Kingdra just going straight Leaf Blade in the one shield. So that's really good. Being able to flip some of its negative matchups as long as shield scenarios flip is really good. That's why Sirfetch'd it's preferred that you give Sirfetch'd shields, but in even shield scenarios, it does very well. As you see, you beat both versions of Machamp now. Win the one shield. That's another notable matchup you flip. And that's pretty much it. So you do flip about like 4 or 5 matchups with Sirfetch'd in the one shield, which is really good. In the zeros, which is the closer, this is where Sirfetch'd shines the most as well. This is its second strongest position. As you see here, you're going to lose against Charizard because you're close combat. You don't get to close combat. Or you do get to one, but it's not enough to kill. You do beat Blaziken. You beat Ampharos. You beat Empoleon. You beat Escavalier. And in the closer, you actually well, the thing about the closer is unless you have Brave Bird, you can beat Toxic and Venusaur, but otherwise you don't. So in the closing scenarios, it's still very powerful against a majority of the meta, but like the aforementioned weakness, like I said, you want to keep away from them, and in the closer, you want to keep away from them as well. What I'm talking about, you want to keep away from poison types, Charmers, Confusion users, and Dragon Breath users. Now you do beat Kingdra still. Well, it makes sense that you beat Kingdra, but you don't beat Dragonite because Kingdra doesn't resist your counters. So keep that in mind. And up a shield, this is where Sirfetch'd shines. Literally up a shield, like what I mentioned, Charmers, Confusion users, Ghosts, you actually beat all of them. You even beat Toxicroak in the one shield. So you could go literally straight Leaf Blade. You straight Leaf Blade. You could straight Leaf Blade, which is really good. You straight Leaf Blade Toxicroak to death. So you do flip one of those negative matchups. In the 2 shield, obviously being up 2 shields, you're going to beat a lot of things. But up 2 shields, unless it's a Charmer, unless it confuses you, unless it's a Ghost, you actually wreck almost the entire meta. So up 2 shields, Sirfetch'd is very strong. In the 2-to-1s, it gets really interesting. The 2-to-1s, it's kind of like the 1-to-0 scenario. Keep away from those, what I mentioned before. But other than that, you beat a majority of the meta up a shield. Now, this is where it gets dangerous. Anything down a shield is really bad. But what happens when Sirfetch'd is down a shield? As you see here, it loses to pretty much everything except Lapras, Muck, Obstagoon, and Snorlax. This is why you don't want to, and you beat Snorlax, but this is why you don't want to use Sirfetch'd as a switch, because if you're down shield, Sirfetch'd isn't thick enough to be able to take on a lot of the meta. If it's down 2 shields, it loses against everything. Except Obstagoon, because you punch it to death. So just Obstagoon. So make sure your Sirfetch'd is either in even shield scenarios, or it's down even shields, or make sure it's in even shields or it's up a shield, because you don't want it to be down shields. There are some Pokemon that can, but Sirfetch'd isn't one of them, that can make up being down shields. And in the 2-to-1s, let's see, in the 2-to-1 shield, for example, if you're a down shield, you fight your opponent, you do have some positive matches, you don't flip a lot either. The only thing you add on to other than Obscune is Empoleon and Snorlax. So you can flip some, but not all. So be careful about being down shield. In summary, Sirfetch'd is really, really good. However, if you look at some of the matchups, it looks like you don't really need, like, Night Slash can be used, but it doesn't have much of a difference. But with Leaf Blade, it's just so strong. Gives you that extra matchup against Mud Boys, and it takes down, like, Poliwrath, and it also takes down Lapras. If you look over here, if you look at the matchup with Poliwrath, if you have Night Slash, you actually lose. So there are some things that Leaf Blade and Night Slash don't flip. In my opinion, you want Leaf Blade. Being able to take down like most things, just going straight Leaf Blade without having to depend on a buff is really good. Now, obviously, if you do buff here, it's really strong, but just keep that in mind. And that's the analysis, guys. I give Sirfetch'd a 9 out of 10. It's in the top 10. The only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 because you do have to keep away from what I mentioned to the left. Ghosts, things that resist poison Pokemon because they resist you. You also need to keep away from Charmers and Confusion users. Because you need to keep away from all those things, that's why I rate it. So that's why I don't give it a 10. Because it just has too much. If something hard counters you, yes, it's really good against the majority of the meta. However, because you need to keep away from those, from what I mentioned, I don't give it a perfect score. I'll only perfect score something if it absolutely breaks the game, like Dialga or Magnetism. Those are the only times I'll give something a perfect score. But Sirfetch'd at 9 is still really good. Able to beat something straight Leaf Blade. Has a very versatile moveset. So if you don't like Leaf Blade, you can use Night Slash. Just be aware of what you lose against, okay? But I hope this helped you guys out. Sirfetch'd is a monster in Ultra Premier Cup. I hope you have one ready. If you don't, I hope you get one in the future. And I will see you guys on the next video.